Ashley Wagenaar is going to speak from Farming Smarter on breaking new ground for potato research. Ashley works directly with Southern Alberta farmers as the Farming Smarter Conservation Agronomist within the Knowledge and Network team. She joins Farming Smarter to support work on best management practices and a variety of conservation practices on Southern Alberta farms. Her ag career to working with Nortera Foods and the Little Potato Company in Alberta and Ontario. Ashley? There she is.
Thanks, everyone. I feel like I should start with fee, fi, fo, fum. I'm ready to go, and I applaud our 4-H speakers if they're still here. The confidence is amazing, and I wish that's something I could have done back in that time too. But I'm also going to tell you a little bit of a story of a new Farming Smarter venture that we undertook last year, our first year, our journey into potato research. A little bit maybe hypocritical of me as the conservation agronomist at Farming Smarter to be the one talking about our most maximum tillage crop we could possibly get into. But hopefully I can bring those two things together at the end and in the future. I think that's kind of maybe where our strengths are, maybe where we can bring some new knowledge to. Oh man. What do you do? So, no, I got it. Thanks. So why are we getting into potato research? At Farming Smarter, you know, we were no-till, dry land, and we're moving into some of those irrigated specialty crops. And the irrigation district here in southern Alberta, it only represents almost 4.5% of our cultivated land base. However, that small amount of our land base actually represents 70%, almost 70% of Canada's irrigated land. So even though we are a small land base, we are representative and unique here in southern Alberta. As well as we produce high-value crops. We're almost 30% of Alberta's total primary sales, which contributes, a significant amount to our GDP and supports a decent amount of full-time jobs. And also, compared to the 30 dryland crops regularly reported, irrigation, it reports we have about 60 different crops. So we have a wide amount of crops and a specialty unique area that we thought, as being representative of this area, we need to branch our way into to continue to give the support to the farms that are here. So, a tale of no-till researchers trying to plant potatoes. So every great adventure begins with a group who definitely always knows what they're doing. We thought, we definitely know what we were doing. So this right here is a picture of our new planter. I'll go into it a little bit more on the next slide. But as you know, we plant potatoes in hills. So of course we wanted to first try to just go straight into untilled land and see, we could put potatoes in that. No, you definitely can't. You can't shape the hills in the way that you need to. It didn't work. So, of course, then what we did is, okay, we'll just till once and then we'll try and plant directly into that. And again, we weren't getting the hill shape and the consistency that we wanted. Especially when we're doing research for the first time, we really wanted to make sure that we had consistency as well as uniform depth for our different varieties and our different research plots. So then what we did is we did what most farms have already learned that's the best practice, is to power hill before planting. So we have here a basilier, I believe I'm saying Basilier, thank you, power hiller. And it's a 2-row power hiller. And what's kind of cool about the equipment is that we purchased for this year is that we're able to do different types of potatoes. So different types of potatoes can be grown on different size row widths. So we have a power hiller as well as a planter that we can adjust from 30 inches to 36 inches depending on which market those potatoes are going to. So our equipment is able to accommodate all of that. So in 2024, we started small. We started with just 7 commercial trials. And those commercial trials were 3 different variety trials, 1 seed spacing trial for a new variety, and 3 different nutrient trials for 3 separate nutrient companies. And these included different in-furrow nutrient blends mixed with foliar applications, both liquid and dry fertilizer. So our planter here, it's also a 2-row planter. It's also adjustable. We're able to plant 2 rows together if we want to create 2 plot rows of one variety, or separately if we need to. It's a cup planter, so what it does is it scoops up the potatoes from the hopper and drops them down into the hill that is then reformed behind them with the shaping boards. So we're able to do seed-placed liquid fertilizer as well as a 2x2 dry fertilizer blend, which we used for both our different nutrient trials. Again, we had adjustable row spacing, we can do adjustable seed spacing and planting depth with it. But then, of course, with all new equipment, you always have to make modifications. It's so shiny and nice until you figure out all the different things that you want it to do. So one of the things that we found with our planter is the sprocket sizes for our planting spacing. They weren't precise enough for the specific planting spacings that we wanted. So we did end up having to do just one afternoon of hand planting where we rallied everyone in the office and did a quick hand planting where then we power hilled over top to make sure we had consistent uniform hills. But that plan is to fix that for next year so we don't have to steal 20 students all to hand plant for one afternoon. And then in season, what we're doing is we're gathering data depending on, what the customer or the project needs from us. Depending on what the project is looking for, we're doing our foliar applications, we're doing our in-season herbicide or pesticide applications. We're checking for emergence, stem counts, row closures. And then just a fun fact about potatoes, if you're not familiar with them, is most of the vegetative growth and the vegetative growth stage you see of potatoes above ground, it doesn't normally correlate to the maturity length or the maturity stage of the potato below ground. So that means there's quite a bit of destructive sampling and digging you have to do depending on the variety, just to correlate the difference between a row closure versus a tuber initiation or stolen development or tuber bulking of those plants. Some even flower at different times or don't flower at all, and some don't even row close. So it's just, there's a lot of digging involved in determining those very specific timings for crop stage. And then this was another challenge choice that we had in season. So it was to rehill or to not rehill. So rehilling can help after planting as it can allow for better water infiltration in your potato hills. It can allow for your first mechanical weed control, or it can do one other thing. Oh, it can bulk up your hills. So when you have a bigger potato and your potatoes are bulking, if they get too close to the edges of your hills, you can get greening, and you don't want greening. It's a quality defect. But then also, hilling can damage your crop if you go too late or if it's too wet. It can damage your vegetation, or it can be clipping some of the roots if you're getting too late. So it was just one of those things we really wanted to try to see if it worked, but you can see from the video there, we weren't getting that full soil coverage that maybe you'd want to see when you're rehilling. But at the end of the day, it still worked for us as a weed control and helped our plants grow nice. And then another fun challenge that we had, we didn't have any weed pressure whatsoever in this plot. Our fun wild oats, you can see where we did apply our Eptam versus where we didn't on our test area there. It really made a big difference. So we were able to control that with a pre-emerge. And then our other biggest challenge with our weeds was wild buckwheat at the end of the season. Just seemed to grow in between the rows and seemed to wrap quite a bit. And so our students' favorite job of the summer, of course, was hand weeding our poor plots. So those are our really happy high school students who somehow still want to come back to agriculture. But yeah. Other than that, we had a really successful year with our potatoes. They grew really well. We had very healthy plants. We had very healthy emergences. And even with a cool, wet spring, there was a little bit of seed rot kind of in the area, but we didn't really struggle with that, and no significant pest or disease damages. And I just wanted, no, not this one. So some of the data that we can capture from in-season, we can look at different things such as plant populations. So potatoes do take a little bit of time to get out of the ground and emerge. So it's one of those things that when you're looking at different varieties, that timing of emergence, how fast it happened, and then how your percentage of emergence of your plant population that you planted is a good metric to keep track of. As well as your stem counts. Different varieties have significantly different stem counts, and sometimes you can correlate stem counts of a plant to its physiological age, as well as sometimes to the amount of tubers that you expect it to set, but then other varieties you don't. So you can see there's quite a big difference here of different stem counts of different varieties. And then another unique thing about certain potato varieties, depending on where they're going in the market, is they're desiccated or top-killed based on a size profile or to set skin, which you would do for any variety that is going to maybe a chip factory or to a fresh market where the visual of that skin really matters. So we had to make sure we were able and set up to be spraying individual plots at specific different times and not damage the plots around them. So we're able to use a CO2 canister, a hand sprayer, and then we had 2 people on either side of the plot with big styrofoam blocks that we were able to walk alongside and spray. And this is kind of a cool drone imagery of just the different stages of some of the different varieties as they were dying down. A rainbow of green and brown there. And then, of course, the meat and potatoes, it's harvest time. We decided to go with a 1-row digger. And why we decided to do that is because potatoes need quite a bit of destructive sampling. Sometimes you're just using 1 plot for yield analysis and maybe 1 plot for sampling. It just gives us that flexibility. Also, this 1-row digger, we're able to take it out into commercial fields. So when we are into different field trials in farms fields, we're able to take this out, put it down, dig, and then continue on through the rows with minimal damage to the rest of the crop. And then, as you can see from the video, the digger will dig the hill and then bring the dirt and the potatoes into that middle sizing or middle area there along the belt, and then it's up to us to pick out the potatoes, kind of opposite to a commercial setup where they're grading out the bad stuff. We're actually grading in the good stuff, meaning we are touching and having to pick up every single research potato, but it also means that when they go onto those side little belts there, it goes down into a bagger. So we're handling our potatoes as minimally as we possibly can to maintain their quality, as well as giving ourselves a nice clean sample in a bag that we're able to then process with just a quick wash. And that's what that looks like there. And then our future goal, as you can see on this side there, we have a bit of a pallet. We're going to build a box that fits onto those pallet forks that we're able to put our sample harvest bags into. We're able to drop that fork down on the side of the field, and then a tractor will be able to come and pick that box up and put that on our flatbed trailer. So then we're minimizing the amount of hand lifting, heavy sample bags, as well as the amount of people that we need. We'll just need people to be grading the potatoes. And it looks fast, but you can slow it down or speed it up depending on how quick your hands are. Yes?
You saw me up there, Jack.
Can work sometimes in the field. I know, isn't that great? But he was slow. Did you see how much faster my hands were than his? Yeah, and then for potatoes, a farmer I recently just chatted with, she put it really well where she said, for my potatoes, my yield matters, but it doesn't matter near as much in my potato crop as it does in my yield crop. What matters in my potato crop, because it's under a contract and it's a food product, the quality matters of my potato. And so we wanted to make sure that we were set up in a way that we're able to realistically gauge the quality of the potatoes that we're testing, depending on what we're testing for. So what we have here is we have a drum washer that is able to wash our potatoes for us in a way that doesn't beat them up. It's nice and gentle. And then it goes into a specific gravity scale. And if you're not familiar with specific gravity, it's a metric that a lot of processors will use for potatoes. What it does is it compares the dry weight of a sample and the wet weight, so the weight of that sample underwater, and it's giving you an estimate of your dry matter, which if you're processing that potato, if you're frying it or you're cooking it in some way, the amount of water in that potato really matters. And changes the way that fry or that chip will cook. And then it also can handle and bruise or store differently depending on that metric. So it's a good metric to make sure that you're not doing anything that messes with that. And then we go to our last, which is our smart grader. So our smart grader is able to optically count, weigh, and size every individual potato that we put through it. And it gives us some really cool sizing data. So you can see this is different sizes of the weight of the potatoes, and it can also do the number of the potatoes in each category. So it's able to size them out both width, length, and diameter. So we're able to get, some really cool size profiles of the samples that we're harvesting, both in weight and in number. Here, this is a russet Burbank potato. You can see quite just a nice bell curve of the different sizes. But then if you're looking at something and you're trying to maximize one specific size, that would be something like this, where this is a table potato that they were interested in one size, and we were able to show the proportion of that specific size that they wanted versus the other different sizes. And then additionally, we're able to, work with farms and do some in-field trials as well as some after-harvest, after-effect trials. So this, oh, it's not spinning. Let's make it spin. I want it to spin. That's all right. You might recognize this from Mike's hemp treating. I had to scrub out all the nice blue seed treatment before I did this, but what we did is we were testing the bruising capacity of some different fresh market potatoes. So of course, fresh market potatoes, we all purchase based on our eyes and how pretty those potatoes are. So when new varieties come on the market, the customer is looking for different quality aspects of that potato, and how that potato bruises up is one of those things that they're concerned about. So we were able to put samples of potatoes in a cement mixer with golf balls, tumble them around and beat them up without skinning them. And then we were able to kind of assess the different levels of bruising that these potatoes had. And then I have been lucky to work with some really innovative potato farms who are interested in maintaining crop cover on their land after potatoes. There's minimal residue left on potato fields after harvest, and harvest is quite late. So trying to get some sort of cover on that field so you're not dealing with the spring blowing or soil erosion is a big concern for a lot of farms. So we were looking at some different winter wheat planting dates, as well as some different populations of winter wheat, winter triticale, and winter barley as well. And so what's our role in our research here? We're really good at applied research. We have the equipment and the land that we can take some of those high-level ideas from the lab or from maybe different areas and apply them in a way that we hope is directly applicable to the farms that are interested in it, as well as we aren't governed by the production of our potatoes. If we try a project and it fails miserably, we don't need those potatoes. You know, we're after the data, so we're able to do things that maybe farmers haven't been able to do because they can't risk their production. And then any sort of local, regional data, it's attractive for product development, and it's what you need if you want to, suggest or promote a practice change, as well as the fact that we have long-term crop rotation research, and we can incorporate potatoes into systems research. So maybe it's not just maybe you aren't a potato farmer, but someone who wants to rent your land to put potatoes on, maybe we can, give you some information on different crop practices or different fertility options in that way as well. And then, our 2025 plans, we're going to continue our commercial trials, as well as we have some applications into some funders for some work starting on potatoes starting this year. We are thinking of trying to get into some fertilizer banding work to reduce some of those heavy broadcast applications that farms have to do before they plant, as well as some different water deficit effects. Like I said, with potatoes, it's not just about the yield. If you're reducing some of that water, it's all some water on your fields. It's also about what happens to the quality of that potato, because that matters almost more, as well as some nutrient response curves. And that is it for me. Does anyone have any questions?
I have one from Slido. What did you do with all the potatoes you harvested after you completed the grading?
That's a great question. I think we had, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was around 13,000 potatoes, 13,000, pounds of potatoes. And we put them in big crates, and they were donated to the Lethbridge Food Bank. Actually, they were very happy to take them all. So that's where those went. Yeah. And hopefully we can continue to do that.
That was the only Slido question. The floor is open.
Oh, yes. Thank you. If anyone's interested, not just in potato research, but any sort of research on your farm, please come and give me a chat. I'm able to provide some help and assistance and data gathering for any sort of on-farm trial that you're interested in for free. So, yes.